This is Behind the Mask, and I am Mimi Mefo. Cameroon, a nation often described as Africa in miniature because of its diversity in culture and landscapes. But behind its vibrant facade lies a dark reality. At the recent United Nations Committee Against Torture review, Cameroon's delegation painted a hopeful picture, a nation free from state-sanctioned torture and human rights violations. Led by Ambassador Eheth Salomon, supported by Mrs. Atabong Angelina and Musansekbe Belombe Patrick, the delegation dismissed allegations of systematic abuses in the Central African nation. But for those who have endured the brutal reality, the narrative is starkly different.
Yeah, I'm here because of the story of 2019 that I was in the house in Buea. That was 3rd January 2019. So I was just in the house one evening by a kind of 9 o'clock, 9:30. So, and I was not even feeling too well. So my son came inside the room knocked and asked me, "Daddy, there's some people that are looking for you here." I said, "How can somebody come and look for me at 9:30 without calling my phone?" So he said, I told him to go and ask the people that I don't know any person that can come and look for me at this hour. So he went out not to tell them. While he was going out to open the gate, one pushed the gate and entered, and then two jumped over the fence.
That is Jacob Che. He is 49 years old. Residing in the restive town of Buea, southwest region of Cameroon, Jacob was taken to an undisclosed location in the region. It is one of the regions plagued with armed conflict since 2016, which has now claimed over 6,000 lives, according to Human Rights Watch. Blindfolded, Jacob could only hear voices of 3 men who beat him until he went unconscious. For over 2 harrowing months, he endured beating, starvation, and dehydration.
As we opened the door, they just entered, and the first thing they asked me that I should give my passport. I said, "Passport?" They said, I said, "No. I don't have a passport." They said, "No, I should give my passport. I'm just coming from the US." I said, "I've never traveled." "Yeah, I don't even first of all have a passport." They said, "I know." So when we were saying it, they said, they don't even argue with me. They enter. So they asked me to lie down. That I lie down, and then my son also lie down. I asked him to lie down. So they searched the bubble, the house, searched, going around, scattered, removed bed, everything, my dresses, everything. They didn't say anything. So what they did was like, I should dress up. So I took my trouser, I wore my trouser, put on my t-shirt. So when we were going out now, that's when they told my son that it's not, that you should not be afraid, it's not amber, it's military. That was all. We went out of the gate now. We went out of the gate, and then what they said was like, I should enter the car. One sat at the end, I was at the middle, one was at the other way, 2 people in front. As we entered the car, they sealed my eye. And take a cloth, they just put it on my eye. Put a handcuff on my hand. So I started driving, going out. I didn't know where we were going to. When driving, arrived somewhere. I just stopped and they asked me to go down. So I was just like, I don't know. I'm innocent. I don't know what's happening. I told them that they are not sure that it's a wrong ID. It's a wrong identity. They were like, nobody did answer me. So in some point we reached, they asked me to go out of the car. So I was just like, I don't want to. The firing squad, they want to kill me now. But where am I? I got, I'm innocent. I don't know me anything. The guys went out. They came back with a machete. C'est bon, I'm only there. So I was just like, either going to cut off my head or they want to do what me. I was just saying, Papa God, I'm innocent. We went out. They held my hand, put me on the floor. I just sat on the floor. Then left the babush. They removed my slippers. They threw water on my leg. They started whipping my underleg with a machete. I was screaming, shouting, they were beating. I just know it was 3 people because I heard their voices. This one beat, tired, give this one just like that. Fini. That's how they were beating me until under my leg. After a while, they stopped. They carried me now. I should stand. I could not stand. I said, okay, soon you along. One held me this way, the other one carried me, my neck. I was crawling on the floor, went inside. As I was entering, he said, Ivo Zadzi? They said, no. Ivo Lamene said, Ramene do. They took me back outside. So went out, put me on the floor, said, lucky more. So all of a sudden, I just had my t-shirt as my eyes were still closed. Turn on my t-shirt. Threw water on my body. Started whipping me with machete. See, they there with me. They whipped me with a machete. One was just throwing water. This one beat, get tired, give the other one. Until finish more.
Jacob's ordeal continued until a superior, according to him, who is head of the Gendarmerie Legion in Buea, intervened, ordering medical attention.
One just said, so the dress I was putting on, they took it and then forced it into my mouth. So I was shouting and my voice could not come out again. I heard one was just, as I felt like this, say, anymore. They came down with water, poured on my nose, like, they poured the water until it got finished. No thing. They went and put water again. They were just putting the water. So the last energy that I had, I was getting up like, Jesus. One just kicked me here, Mary. That was all. I was there for like 2 days unconscious. Nobody came to even check. So the 3rd day they came.
For those 2 days you were unconscious, you didn't know what was happening around you.
I was unconscious. I didn't know anything that was happening around me. They carried me now, put me behind the car. So one asked, où sont tes parents? Où est ta mère? Assez les morts. C'est vrai ton père, assez les morts. C'est bon, où nous sommes là, tu vas aller les trouver où ils sont. They drove with their car, my eyes were still tight. Drove when I did not know where they go to. So then when I reached at a certain point, I was like, either going to throw me inside the forest now or what. And I was just like, I'm very, very innocent, Papa God. You're the Almighty, you're the one that knows what's happening. But me, I don't even know. I'm lost. So they reached at a certain point, when I opened, the barrier. They opened, I had one, like an iron gate, iron door. They opened, they removed me, carried me, when and threw me inside, locked it. I was there for a week. They did not remove that piece from my eye. I rotten until I was smelling the whole that place. I was still handcuffed on my hands were swollen, my eyes were still tight. So I was there like almost a week, like 9 days.
Finally, his family discovered his whereabouts through his lawyer, who is head of Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, Barrister Agbo Felix Nkongo. Jacob was able to find legal and moral support. With Barrister Nkongo's efforts, Jacob was also able to provide private testimony to the UN Committee Against Torture.
It was easy for me because if you look at the Torture Convention, you could clearly understand that what he went through was torture committed by someone in his official capacity, and the only thing I could do was to file a complaint to the Committee Against Torture, And as we speak, we after we filed a complaint, the government was asked to present its response to our complaint, and the government has done it, and then we also had to do a further reply. So we are now waiting for the committee to come out with his decision.
How important is it for people who are victims of torture to come before a committee like the UN committee that reviews torture to talk about their ordeals? How important is it?
Well, it's important that the survivors of torture, their story should be heard. They should have their day also in court. Or justice should not only be seen to be done, but should actually be done. And also, it's part of the healing process, where you can actually explain that what happens. But it also acts as a deterrent for future perpetrators to understand that the culture of impunity, there must be an end to this culture of impunity, and accountability should be the rule, that those who commit egregious crimes should be held responsible. And if a survivor is hurt today, if because of Mr. Jacob's story or his victimization, it can benefit others, that in future others would not be victimized, then to me, that is something that humanity has gained.
His evidence painted a grim picture of life in illegal detention for many Cameroonians. At some point, it was difficult for him to even tell his story. Now, I reached out to the Cameroonian delegation hoping for a response. Most of them declined to speak to me, except the Cameroon's permanent ambassador at the United Nations. This only reinforces a troubling culture of silence that persists in Cameroon on these pressing issues. Ehud Salomon told me that everything that was discussed at the session will be transmitted to the authorities in Yaoundé, the capital city of Cameroon, for eventual implementation. Excellency.
No. That's not the way to answer the question. I'm not here to decide what is going to happen. We have a government, we have a head of state, we have a program, and this program is in conformity with what is doing. This is our international engagement, because this was an assessment. This assessment is how in Cameroon we apply, and how in Cameroon, what is the practice on torture. And we have explained. So we got so many inputs, and all this is going to help us to enhance our legal system, our practice, and that's why we are here. But what is done in Cameroon now is good. It's good, but we have to continue. That's why we.
However, the question remains as to what will happen if the Cameroonian government failed to respect these commitments. The UN committee chair talked to Mefo Info and provided an explanation.
I think they have a responsibility. They have assumed an engagement, voluntary engagement, when they ratified the Convention Against Torture. So it's the responsibility of the Cameroon government to follow with their obligations, to comply with their obligations that they have assumed on a voluntary basis.
Jacob's story isn't unique. Activists, journalists, and even artists like Longe faced intimidation, detention, and torture. This is why the UN committee was keen to understand how similar cases can be identified, investigated, and eventually punished.
After a conversation, a dialogue, an interactive dialogue with the state, the committee issues recommendations through its concluding observations, in which the committee basically expresses its areas of concern and suggests ways for the country to move forward so as to fully implement the provisions and the standards of the Convention Against Torture. The committee will then follow up on some of those recommendations in a period of 1 year. those that are deemed most pressing and most urgent. And then, of course, the committee will issue another list of issues in order to follow up and review the state once again during its seventh periodic report. If there are accusations of ill treatment or torture, then states have the obligation to open investigations to determine who is responsible for those acts of ill treatment or torture, and to punish those who are responsible and to punish them appropriately, that is in proportion to the gravity of these crimes. So when it comes to the protection of human rights, everyone has a responsibility. The Committee Against Torture is charged with monitoring the way in which Cameroon and other state parties enforce and implement the convention in practice. And then other stakeholders, such as civil society organizations, also have something to do here. And there are ways in which civil society can take the general observations, the general comments, the recommendations that the committee puts forward, and mobilize and try to engage with government to see this is a government that today is heading the General Assembly of the United Nations. So Cameroon is a country that is concerned with international relations and its place in the world, which is an important thing, and it's good that Cameroon is doing that. So it's also for other actors to take on those recommendations and be able to engage with governmental authorities.
One of the reasons why this goes underreported is that many victims of torture do not want to speak up. Their safety after opening up is not guaranteed enough. So I asked a member of the UN committee what victims can do to tell their stories without blowing their cover.
Of course, we have discussed, we have large discussion about the possibility to lodge a complaint. That's a safeguard that should be applied at the national level, but also there is a possibility for those who want to be heard at the international level to lodge a complaint to UN treaty bodies. It's mandatory for each state signatory of the Convention Against Torture to have real and a functional mechanism at the national level. I know that civil society in Cameroon is quite vibrant. I'm referring to human rights organizations and journalists, and it's through this, avenues sometimes victims can speak and can make their case publicly available. But it's important that their cases or their situation. It's important that should be an investigation and a punishment, because wherever there is impunity, there will be torture.
But how safe can victims be if they have to report via the same government perpetrating the crime? That is the question. While change begins with voices being heard, with resilience against oppression. For Jacob and others like him, the path to justice may be long, but it's not without hope. He told me that the trauma lingers on. When he sleeps at night, he wakes up just like, in shock. It happens all the time. He continues to fear for his life. But giving up is not an option.
From there, every time I've come to court, the case was only adjourned until later on they said they have dispatched the case in the court.
When was it dispatched in court?
Now, I think it's 2 years, last year.
2023.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why they were so interested in knowing whether you have a passport?
There, I don't know, because I've never traveled, I've never had a passport, so I don't know. It's just like it was a wrong identity that it came to me, because I don't have a passport. I've not even made the passport that I was even like, let me try to travel. Nothing. So after the acquittal, were there any apologies to say, okay, it was a case of mistaken identity or something? No, they were saying that we are They were separatists who want to separate the country, just like that. So they did not tell me anything till today, no apology, nothing.
Jacob's story is one of survival, but it is also a call to action. It exposes a system that thrives in darkness, where impunity reigns and silence is weaponized. Yet the courage to speak, to stand, and to demand justice is a powerful force, one that can bring about change. The fight against torture and human rights abuses is not just Cameroon's fight, it's a global battle, a test of our collective humanity. Governments, organizations, and individuals must not remain silent. The world must hold those in power accountable and stand with the victims in their pursuit of justice, just like the United Nations did, and we are hoping that something could come out of this.
I've not been fine since then till today. I've not been fine. At times, even as to see military people, I'm scared. And at times I just sit, I cannot sleep the whole night. At times I still feel bad because since that time till now, I'm still on treatment. Actually, at times I'm just lost. I'm lost. I can sit like this with you people, you talk to me. When you leave, you go out, you come back, and what you're always saying, I will not even tell you. I will not even think. It's just out of my mind. I don't reason. See, now that I'm like this.
So to me, it was very, very important to ensure that we bring this complaint, we file this complaint to the court, and that Mr. Jacob's story or his tragedy, be brought to the limelight for everyone to understand how gruesome, how barbaric, that some of these officers working for the state, how they treated a citizen who committed no crime, and how they don't have the courtesy to apologize for these heinous crimes that was committed on an innocent civilian.
This documentary is not just a story. It's a call to speak, to act, and to demand change, because silence only fuels oppression, and justice delayed is justice denied. This is Behind the Mask, and our focus today has been Cameroon, a nation striving to reconcile its image with its reality. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in our next episode.